Well, hello and welcome to Flutter, Android and iOS property rental app development course. In this course, you will learn how to create Airbnb and Booking.com clone application using Firebase as backend and with Stripe online payment integration using Google Map, Google API services for the locations, just like you see in Airbnb, Agoda, and Booking.com. So let me discuss the features of this app step by step. First of all, you will develop the users app, as you can see on this Android phone, and on the iPhone you can see this is the host app. So we will have two types of user, the end user and the host app. This is the host dashboard you can see on the iPhone 17 Pro Max, and on the Android phone we have the users app. So the user can see all the properties listed by different hosts. Each property listing has multiple images, its name, its description, the property details, how much beds, how much washrooms, and how much or what amenities the property has. You will learn how to implement Google Map services using Google APIs, where the user can check the property location. And you will learn how to implement the advanced review system, where only after the booking the user can rate the host property listing, or the user can also rate or give a review about the specific host. If you have not yet booked any property listing, then you will not be allowed to give a review about that specific property listing or that specific host, just like Airbnb or Booking.com. Now all the properties on the Explore page on the user app, these are from different hosts around the world. Now, for example, this host has uploaded 3 properties. So if this host wants, then this host can upload as many property listing as this host wants by selecting the property type, selecting the address for this specific listing, and of course providing the amenities and the description about this specific listing, like the beds, the washrooms, the amenities, and the multiple images for this specific listing, and simply upload by clicking this button. And also the host can edit already uploaded listing. Just like Airbnb on the bookings page, each host can see his each property listing, available dates, and also the dates which has been booked already by different users around the world. The highlighted ones, which has a white background, it simply represents that it is available on these specific dates. So for example, if you choose any specific listing, let's say this one, then you can see it is available on these specific 3 dates, and on the other ones it is already booked for the month of September. Similarly, you can scroll and check for the other months, let's say October, so you can see select the already booked dates and the available dates for that specific listing which you will choose from the list down below. Now let's verify this specific property from the user side. So let's say if this property the user wants to book, click on the book now button, and you will see that it is available for the specific dates, which you can verify from the host as well, as you can see here. For example, on the October, let's verify, you can see that it is available only on these dates, and in September it is available for these 3 dates. So let's say I want to book as a user for these 2 dates from the host Olivia Smith, and you can also see the host total earnings. So now let the user pay on the online payment using Stripe payments, the card payment, which is Visa, MasterCard, or you can say credit or debit card. So pay now, booked successfully. And if you go to the trips, you will see that you have successfully booked this specific property for these 2 dates. Now if the host Olivia Roberts check the earnings, you can see it has been updated successfully. And if you go to the bookings, then you will see that these 2 dates are also not available now because the user has already booked for these 2 specific dates. As soon as you booked any property, a chat will be initiated automatically between the host and the end user. So now, for example, the end user can contact now the host. Let's say if the user has any problem or any difficulty, or let's say if the user wants to discuss anything with the host, then as soon as the user make a successful booking, a chat system will be initiated for that specific property between that specific host and that specific user, so they can communicate with each other using this private chat system, which will be available only after when the user make a successful booking. Now let's say if a host has uploaded multiple properties, and let's say in the future the same user booked different properties from the same host, then for each property listing, that is for each booking, a new chat will be initiated. So each booking will have its own unique new chat, just like you guys see in the. Similarly, when you go to the trips page, you will see your new trip for which you have made a booking. As you have now successfully booked this specific property, so now you are allowed to give a rating, a review to this specific property listing, or you can also give a review to this specific host, just like in the Airbnb, Agoda and booking.com. You can save any specific property listing to your favorite list, just like this, and when you go to your favorite list, you will see it there. From there you can remove it by clicking the cross icon button, so you can delete it here from your favorite list as well. You will learn how to implement advanced search feature where you can search for different properties by the place name, by the property type, whether it is apartment, flat, it is a villa, or it is a condo. So this is all about this course introduction video. You will love this course as you will learn many advanced features, and at the end of this course you will have your own real world property rental application, just like Airbnb, Agoda and booking.com, which you will develop using Firebase as backend and with online Stripe payments system using the Google Map services, the Google API services. Let's begin this project. Open up Android Studio and create a new Flutter project by name Airbnb_clone, and then set the description. Then the organization, here you can write your name, then check the Android iOS, click create. Now make sure that from here you select project. Inside the lib we have main dot. Remove the extra comments and then minimize the home page, my home page and my home page state. We will remove both of them, and for now we will add a scaffold widget, and in the body we using the text widget we will display a message hello world. Now let's connect our Flutter project with Firebase for the Android and iOS. So Google Firebase, go to console, create a new Firebase project, write your project name Airbnb clone, click continue, then click on this gear icon, project settings. We will connect it for the Android and for the iOS. We will do it step by step. First of all, let's enable the authentication. So from the build, go to authentication and get started. Enable the email and password. Then from the build, go to Firestore database. Let's create that as well. Create database, standard, this one, and then click next. Click next. Start in production mode, continue, create. Go to the rules and make sure to allow read write. So set this to true. Publish. Then from the build, go to the storage. We will use storage for saving the images. Now for the storage, if you see upgrade project, go ahead, click on it and create your billing account if you have not yet created. And once you create it, you will see your already existing billing account. Click on it, and then here you can set your budget. Let's say I will just say $1. It will not charge you any amount, okay? So for a small use, it is 100% free. And then let's click on get started. Create, start in production mode. Go to rules and make sure to allow the read write. So authentication, Firestore database, and storage we will use. So go to the pubspec.yaml. Let's add the dependencies for it. Firebase core. After it, we will use for the auth, Firestore, and storage. Then click on pubget. It has been installed. And now let's go to the project settings and let's connect it for the Android first. So click on Android icon and go to Android app, build.gradle, and inside default config we have application ID. So copy this application ID and we will simply paste it here. We will give it name as Android app. Download the Google services.json file, copy it, and then paste it inside the app folder. Then next, and we have to copy this line and we have to add it inside the settings.gradle file inside the plugins. Paste it here like this. Then copy this line and we have to add it inside the app build.gradle file. So go to the app level build.gradle file and simply paste it here inside the plugins. Make sure that you set the minimum SDK to 24. And once you do this, now we can simply test our application. But first, using the Firebase core, we have to initialize the Firebase in our project in order to use the Firebase services. So we say wait firebase dot initialize app, which belongs to Firebase core dependency, which we added in the pubspec YAML file. So let's open up the Android emulator and install the app on our Android emulator. So we have successfully connected our Flutter project for the Android with Firebase. Now let's do it for the iOS. So next, continue to console. So go to project settings from the gear icon. You can come here, click on add app, iOS, and then your application ID you have to paste here. So we have to open this iOS module in the Xcode. So go ahead and open Xcode. Open existing project, Airbnb iOS module, open. Now in here, click on runner, and in here we have, you can see general sign in and capabilities. Make sure that you check this automatically signing, okay, and choose your team. And from the general, you basically have to allow the devices for which you will upload, let's say, this app. So I want it for the iPhone and iPad, so I remove the other two. And copy your bundle identifier from here, from the sign in capabilities, and simply paste it here. Register app. Then download the Google Services info.plist file. In case of iOS, first you have to quit the Xcode, close Xcode, and we have to move our Google services info.plist file to our project. So inside the Airbnb clone project, we will move this here like this, and then this file we have to drag and drop in the Xcode below the runner. So open up Xcode, the iOS module of our project, and you need to simply drag and drop this Google Services info.plist file below the runner like this. Make sure to check these, finish. Now go to your Android Studio and go to port file and remove the comment from platform iOS and set the minimum iOS version 16. So 16 and above iOS versions is allowed in order to use this app. Quit the Xcode, and now inside the Android Studio write cd iOS. Inside the iOS directory we have to run the command pod init and then pod install. So it is going to install the packages for the iOS. Once it is installed successfully, then open up Xcode and we are going to test the application. From here you can select the iPhone, on which iPhone you want to test. I choose iPhone 17 Pro Max. Click on the play button. As you can see, it is now installing on my iPhone 17 Pro Max, so wait for it. It has been installed, and let's wait for the launch of the iOS. So here we go. We have successfully connected our Flutter project for the iOS with Firebase. Let's work on the sign up and sign in page UI. So let's create a new folder inside the lib. We will give it name as pages. Inside the pages, we will create a new folder by the name auth. Inside the auth folder, we will create the sign up page, sign up underscore page. We will initialize a form key in order to implement the sign up form. Final underscore form key, global key form state. Then the text rating controller for the text form fields. Email controller, for example. After it we have password, first name, last name, city controller, country controller, and bio controller. We will also initialize file type underscore image file variable, and boolean type underscore is loading with the initial value false. Files is from .io. Return a scaffold widget, app bar, title using the text widget. We will display create account text, and then after the app bar, in the body we will display our sign up form. We will add a single child scroll view with padding from all side 25. Child column children widget. First of all, we will display an image. So for that purpose, on inside our project Airbnb clone, we are going to create a new folder by the name assets. Inside the assets, we create a new folder by the name images, and inside the assets we create a new folder by the name fonts. I have provided these 4 images. Download these images and then copy it and paste it inside the images folder. And then I have provided also this font couture, so download and copy it, paste it inside the fonts folder, and add it inside the pubspec.yaml. For example, for the images, so we have assets folder. In here we have the images folder /, and then for the fonts fonts dash family. The font family is Couture, and then the reference to it dash, we have assets folder. In here we have fonts, and the font name is couture.ttf. Now please make sure that you do not give any space forward or backward. Okay, do not give extra spaces. It must follow the same format as you can see. Same goes for the assets, and then when you provide the asset path. Pubget. So now we can use the images and the font in our entire app. Now, in order to apply the Couture font by default on our entire app text, we have to apply it from the main.dot using the theme data. So for example, we can say font family, and the family name is Couture, as you can see. So it will be by default applied on any text which you will use in this entire app. Now we want to apply a dark theme for this whole app. So you can say brightness.dark. Then you can also apply some extra properties, for example, the default color for the text, for the icons, etc. So for that purpose, this theme data, we say dot copy with. So we say text theme data.dark.theme apply, and inside apply, the font family will be Couture, body color white, and the display color will be white. After the theme text theme, we also set the scaffold background color and the primary color. Then the default colors for the app bar, we say const app bar theme, background color, the foreground color, the icon theme, the title text style. So the default will be white color, font size 20, and font weight will be bold. After the app bar theme, we apply the color scheme dot surface, primary color, the on primary, secondary, on secondary, on surface. And then after the color scheme, you can also apply the icon theme. So the icon theme, that is for each icon the color will be white. Similarly, you can also apply the default styling for the text fields or text form fields, which simply means the input decoration theme. So we say input decoration theme, the field will be true, field color will be black. That is, each text field will be filled with a color, and that color will be black. Hint style, then the border, outline input border, enable border, focus border, and label style. Now for the border side will be border side color white 70, then the border radius from all side circular 8, then outline input border, and then outline input border for the focused border. So like this, we set the enable border and the focus border and the border, outline input border. So this is how you apply default theme and the default color, or you can say default color scheme, for the text, icons, and for the text fields. Once you do that, now let's complete the sign up page UI. First we display the image, and the image will be according to the screen width 80%. After the image, we display some space. Let's create a new folder inside the lib by the name constants. Inside the constants, we create a new .file by the name app_constants class app constants. So in this class, basically we will initialize all the constants of this app. For example, for now we just add the app name, which is Airbnb clone. So whenever we need the app name, we will just call app name. Now here, text widget, start your journey with the app name. So you know that we have to access it from the apps constants.app name. So app constant class name and then the variable name. Apply the text align property at the which will be at the center, and text style will be font size 26. Then comes the sign up form. So using the form widget, we will implement that. Now, as we will have multiple text form fields, so we can implement a reusable text form field, which we can then call, for example, for displaying the email field, password, first name, last name, up to bio, all these controller using the same code. So for that purpose, inside the lib, I will create a new folder by the name widgets. And inside the widgets folder, we will have our first reusable widget, custom text field. Custom text field. Now this custom text field will receive the following parameters through its constructor. Now for the password field, we have the obscure variable. By default it has a true value. So for example, in case of password, if it is a password, then obscure will be true. Otherwise, for the other text field like email, name, etc., it will have a false value. So as soon as this widget is called, for example, on the init state, we can say obscure. To this we assign the isPassword variable. So if isPassword is true, obscure will be true. If it is false, then it will have a false value. Then we return padding widget from agentset.symmetric vertical 10 child text form field. The controller will be the controller which we receive here, whether it is email controller, password controller, and we receive it here, we display that here. That is, it is for that specific purpose. Email, password, name, whatever it is. Obscure, it depends on the widget password boolean type variable. If it is true, obscure will be true, else it will be false. Maximum line will be maximum line which we receive for that specific text field as a parameter. Then style, apply on it, and then validator, that is if text is null or if text is empty, then in that case we say please enter, and that specific label which we receive as parameter will display that. Otherwise, else null. Decoration, input decoration, prefix icon which we receive as a parameter. That specific icon we display. For example, for email we will have different icon, for password it will have different icon, and so on for the name and other text field. Similarly, the label, each text field will have its own label which we are receiving here as parameter, and then apply some label style on it. Field color, the field will be true. The border, outline input border radius dot circular 12. Suffix icon we display on the basis of isPassword. So if widget.isPassword, if it is true, then display the icon button, otherwise display nothing. So for example, in case of password, we will have this icon. And that icon will be based on obscure. So if it is true, we will have this icon, otherwise we will have this icon. Color will be white 70. On pressed, set state obscure equals to the negative value of obscure. So let's say if it is true, it will become false. That is not true, not false, not true, not false, like this. That is when the user keep pressing these icon buttons. So now we can just call it. For example, we can say custom text field, to which we pass the controller. For example, let's say first we want to display the email text field. The label for it will be email, and the icon.email, and it is not a password field, so we will pass the value to it is password. So we can say is password false. It is not a password field. Then we do it for the password, first name, last name, city, and country. And then the last one is for the bio. After this form, we display some space and then a button. Now this will be an icon button where we are going to allow the user to pick an image from the gallery as their profile image. It will be based on the image file. If image file equals to null, then in that case we display icon. Otherwise, if image file is not equals to null, it means the user has already picked the image from phone gallery, so we display that image using the circle avatar. Now the icon will be add a photo icon, and then the image we will display if we have the image. Then we add a sign up button. Now we check if is loading is true, then in that case it means the user has already clicked the sign up button, and we will display circular progress indicator with color white. Otherwise we will see the sign up button. So using the material button we will implement it. Shape will be round rectangle border, circular 12, child text, sign up button. Color for this material button will be white, height 55, minimum width double dot infinity, and the font size 20, color black. So now from the main dot, for now we are going to add a default page, which will be sign up page. Let's install the app on the phone. This is our sign up page UI. Now if you see here, the sign up button is not visible because it depends on the is loading, and for now we have set the on press to null. So let's add it like this. Okay, add a click event. That is, install the app again on the phone, and you will see that. And of course you can type the password, the email, and all other information. You will learn how to allow the user to pick an image from phone gallery and then to compress that image. So when the user click on this image icon button, we call this function choose image. We implement it above the widget build. Now for the picking image, we will use the image picker dependency. So add image underscore picker, and then to compress the images we will use the Flutter image compressor dependency. So Flutter underscore image underscore compress. And to handle these images, as it will be compressing, so we will use the path provider. Once you add these three dependencies, click Pubcat, import the packages. For example, the path provider, path is path. So import the path provider the image picker, and the Flutter image compressor. So now let's proceed stepwise. So first we pick image from the gallery using the image picker. Now this image file we assign to the picked image. Since the image which will be picked by user from the phone gallery, it will be of type X file. So we check if the picked image is not equals to null. If we have the image file, then we convert that X file to file. So we say file and we say picked image dot path, which will be converted to file, and it is our original file. Then we create a temporary directory for the compressed file, since we are going to compress this original image file in order to decrease its size. So for that purpose we need a temporary directory for the compressed file data. So we get the temporary directory like this, and we assign it to temp dir, temporary directory, and then we say path.join temporary directory dot path at this path, and then we give the name for this image. So we say compress underscore dollar. In here we need to give it a unique name, and then after it the image type dot jpg. So the unique name we can use the current date time. So it will be the path for the image, for the compressed image. Then after it we compress image. So we use compress with file. For example, we say wait flutter image compress dot compress with file, and we pass the original file path to it with quality 25%. Now if you want to keep it 80%, 50%, go ahead and do it so by changing the value to 80% quality or 50% quality, whatever it is. I will go with low quality 25%. And then after it we check if the compressed bytes is not equals to null. Then we simply convert our image file to bytes form like this, and we assign it to compressed file. Then after it we assign the compressed file to underscore image file, and let's print out also the original size of the image before compression. And then also the compressed size, that is after compression, what is the size now. So let me explain again. What we have done here is that first we allow the user to pick image from gallery. Now once the image you get from the gallery as a user, next is we check if picked file is not equals to null. So the picked file is of type X file, so we have to convert that X file to type file. Then we have to compress this image file. So in order to compress any image, we first create a temporary directory for that. So we create the temporary directory, and using that we compress the image using the flutter image compress dot compress with file. Now after that we check if the compressed bytes is not equals to null. That is, if we have the compressed image data, we get that compressed image, and then we assign that compressed image file to our image file, and in the logs we display, or you can say we print out the original size before compression and after compression, just to check if everything goes successful. Now let's install the app on the phone. Now let's pick an image. So you can see here the original size was 26 KB and the compressed size is 14 KB. Inside the auth, create a new .file for the login page. Now, similarly, just like we did on the sign up page, we need basically email controller, and we need a password controller and the form key. And in order to track the progress, we need a boolean type is loading variable. Return single child, return scaffold widget. In the body, we add a single child scroll view. So first we display an image, then size box of height 20, and then we display the title for the login page using the text widget. So we say find stays and rentals with our app name, which is Airbnb clone in my case. Now then after it we add the form, the login form. So what you can do is you can simply copy this whole form widget from here and paste it in the login page. Now we need it only for the email and password. Let's import the custom text field and leave only the email and password and remove the other ones. After the form, we will have the button. First, we will add the size box and then the login button. Child elevated button. The background color and foreground color. On pressed, if the is loading is true, then do nothing. Otherwise, if is loading is false, then log in the user, which is a function which we will implement. Child, if the is loading is true, then we display a circular progress indicator. Otherwise, we display the text on this button, which is login button. So circular progress indicator, we display a circular progress with a color white and with always stop animation. And then the text, in case if the is loading is false, then we will see text on the button which is login, and we apply text style on it. Let me break down the code so that we can see it easily. So circular progress indicator for true, for false we have this text, and there is no need to specifically allow write the background color and foreground color for this elevated button. Now only in those cases if you want to give other color than the default color, which we define here on our this main dart by defining the dart theme. Alongside with it, you know that we have defined the color scheme for the icons, for the text, for the buttons, that is background color and the foreground colors. Now the reason why I use this specific color is that I want this combination which is other than the default colors. For example, for this login button, my background color is white. Let's say you may want to give it green color, or let's say purple color. So in that cases, you can just access the background color and foreground color here. Otherwise, if you want to go with the default scheme, then simply go ahead and remove it. But as I want background color here for the login as white and foreground color black. Foreground color simply means the text on it will be in black color. So anyways, now after this size box, I add size box and then another size box in which I will implement the outline button for the sign up page. So add a border side to it, then round rectangle border at the shape, and then after the style we have the onPress event is loading is true, do nothing, otherwise sign up, that is send the user to the sign up page, which we will implement now. And then child text name for it will be sign up. Now let's implement this sign up first. So it will be just a simple navigator. So navigator dot push named context comma and then the root name. So let's define the root for the sign up page. So we say static constring root name inside the single quotes, or in the double quotes you can write slash and then your root name. Similarly for the login page, we can add here the root login page root, and on the mender dot we can add roots. Currently we have only 2 pages, so first one is the login page. So login page root name, navigate the user to the login page. Similarly we will do it for the sign up page. So now on the login page we will just say sign up page dot root name. Also let's add the login function. For now we will leave it empty because it is to allow the user to log in using Firebase authentication. Now let's install the app on the phone. We will set the default route for now to login page. Email password, if you click on sign up it sends you to the sign up page. Now for the password on the login page, make sure that you change this to lock icon or any other icon you want for it. Similarly you can do the same on the sign up page. We forgot to change the icon for the password. So anyways, this is it. User has now to create account. So on the sign up page let's implement it using Firebase. As soon as the user click on the sign up button, we will call here the function on the click event on pressed. So we will say underscore create account, which is our function name, and let's implement this function above the widget build. It will be a synchronous function. First we will create a new folder inside the lib, and it will be by the name common. So all the common method, or you can say reusable functions, we will implement inside this common folder, where we will have a dot file, of course, by the name common underscore functions. You can say class common functions, and the first function, common function, will be the show snack bar function, which will receive the build context as parameter, that is from where we are calling the specific function. Also, the second parameter it need is the text you want to display on this snack bar. So we can say text, the second parameter, which will be of type string. So for example, we can say scaffold messenger dot of context dot show snack bar the content will be using the text widget. We display the text. Now also alongside the content property, there are other properties if you want to apply on the snack bar. For example, you may want to change the background color, so go ahead and do that if you want that. So now whenever we want to display any error message or success message in our entire app anywhere, then we will just call this show snack bar function, to which we will just pass the text and the context of that page. For example, now here we will check if the form key current state is not validated, or if the image file is equals to null, then in that case we will display a message to the user on the user interface using the common functions show snack bar. So we pass the context and the message you want to display. So for example, we can say fill all fields and upload a profile picture, or you can say choose a profile picture. So like this, we have a reusable code. Then after this, we have to set the is loading to true in order to display the circular progress indicator on the user interface. Using the try catch block, that is on Firebase auth exception in case if any error occur. On Firebase auth exception catch the exception. Now if it shows you error, this Firebase auth exception, then make sure to import here the library manually, which is the Firebase auth dot, and it will remove the error from it because this belongs to Firebase auth. So for example, in the try block, we will have the success part, that is when the login and everything is successful. Now let's say if the Firebase authentication fail, then that exception we can get using Firebase auth exception, this E. And other than that, if there is any other error, we will catch it using simply this catch E exception. So for example, we can print out this exception message using the same snack bar reusable code, that is common functions dot show snack bar, and we need to just pass the message, the exception message. So it will be using this E, we can say E dot to string. And then in case of exception or even in the successful part, if everything executed, then we have another stat finally where we have to make sure to disable the circular progress indicator, that is stop the progress animation. So we can do that by simply setting the value back to false inside this finally. Now let's also get if there is any error related to the Firebase authentication. Now related to the Firebase exception, basically it returns some error codes. So I will initialize here error message string type variable, and then I will use a switch statement and e.code, which will basically give us that error code which we receive from the Firebase authentication in case if there is any error related to the authentication. So that error code we will use different cases. For example, one of the error code according to the documentation will be this one: email already in use the same keywords, that is you can see the hyphens or you can say these dashes, email dash already dash in dash use. So this is the first case, the first exception which we will receive, or you can say the first error code or exception code which we will receive from the Firebase authentication as a response. Make sure to write break, which is a simple switch statement syntax for any case. And then also the second case will be invalid-email, and then the third case will be weak-password. And of course we have a default one, but first of all, let's say in case of email already in use, the error message will be this email is already registered. Then invalid email, we can say please enter a valid email address, and weak password will be password is too weak, please use a stronger one. You can, for example, say use at least 6 characters or so on. Let me write here use at least 6 characters. And now let's write the last one, which is the default case, and the error message will be sign up failed, please try again later. And using the same reusable code, we can display the error message. So just call, after the switch statement, we can just call the common function dot show snack bar function, and we will display the error message. Now let's create account. So using the Firebase authentication, we will do that. So we say user credential, which belongs to Firebase auth. Let's give it name as Firebase user, Firebase auth dot instance, dot create user with email and password, to which we have to pass 2 parameters, the email and the password. Now above the try block, let's get the email and password from the text form fields. So we just say email controller.text.trim, assign it to a variable email. Similarly we do for the password. So the email parameter goes for the email value and the password. So it will basically create the user credentials inside the Firebase authentication. After that, we will check if the user is created successfully, then save this user information to the Firestore, as well as we have to upload the user profile image to the Firebase storage. We need a model class in order to handle the user data. So let's create inside the lib a new folder by the name models. Inside the models, let's create a new file by the name user_objects. Now the user object simply means the user data and the host data, which you can say the contact info. So for example, we will have two kind of user, the end users and the host, or you can say the guest and the host. So anyways, for now we can simply say class contact. The attributes for the contact class, which include ID, first name, last name of the user, full name, and display image of the user. We receive it through its constructor contact. For now we will have a function in order to get the full name for the contact. For example, to the full name we assign the first name plus the last name. Then after the contact class, we need to create another class by the name user model, which extends the contact class. Document snapshot, then the email, bio, city, country is host, is currently hosting, and password attribute for the user model class. Now this represents the guest, or you can say the end user. Data snapshot belongs to the Cloud Firestore. We receive this through constructor. And for now, to the is host and is currently hosting will have a default value false, which simply means that any end user will just be a common user who can rent properties from different hosts. So by default, any new user, let's say you are a new user and you sign up, so you will not be a host by default. Only if you decide to become a host, then you can do so from your app profile page, accounts page, where of course we are proceeding stepwise. So we will do that in the upcoming video lectures. For now, let's just complete the sign up feature. So now, for example, on the user model here, we will implement a function add user to Firestore, which is a synchronous function. We initialize a data map where we define the data, for example, bio value, which will be saved in the database with the key bio. Same goes for the city, country, email up to last name, and then of course the my posting IDs, safe posting IDs, and the earnings. Now please make sure to use the same key names so that later you have no problem while retrieving the user information from the database. So anyways, this is our user data, which is accessible by this data. So now we can create a reference to the database, and under the database we will have a users collection, and each user information we can access using the user unique ID. So we say users collection, under that we have the user ID dot set, and we set the user data. Also, in the same way, we can implement another function which is for saving the display image to the database, which means the user profile image. So we say add image to Firestore file, which will receive the image file as parameter. It is a synchronous function. Since when we upload to the storage, it took some time, so we have to wait for the upload process to complete. So anyways, we create a reference to the Firebase storage. So inside the Firebase storage, we will have a folder by the name user images, and then under the user images, all the user images we will save. Now we have to recognize each user image. So for example, under the user images, by the user unique UID, we can recognize each user profile image. So we will have under the user images the user ID, and then inside the user ID we will have the image by the name profile underscore pic.jpg. Then we have a reference, so now we can say wait reference.put file, which means upload file, and the image file we are going to upload. So when it is complete, then we say memory image file. So we get that image, assign it to display image. Make sure to import this file, which is from .io, and reference belongs to the Firebase storage. So if you do not see the suggestion here, then do it manually. Like here, I will simply say that import Firebase storage, as it is a memory image. So make sure to write alongside with it image file dot read as byte sync. So we have completed also the uploading image to the Firebase storage and to saving the user information to the Firestore database. Now we have to just call it from the sign up page by passing the required user info from the text form fields. Now, as you know that if the user is authenticated successfully, if it is created inside the Firebase authentication, first we will of course check if Firebase user.user not equals to null, then we get that new user UID, user ID. Let's create a constant on our app constant.dart file, and this time static user model current user model. So for example, now we have to pass, or you can say assign the data to the user model attribute. So for example, we have the user ID, so that user ID we can assign to the app constant current user dot ID, which means that current user, you know that it basically we accessing these attributes through this constructor, it will receive it. So now for example, for the remaining ones, that is we get the first name from the text form field and we assign it to the first name attribute. Similarly for the other ones, and the email we already take here from the text form field, the password as well, so we just assign that directly to the email attribute and to the password attribute of the user model class. Now after that, as we have the data now, we can call the functions from the user model. So for example, add user to Firestore and the add image to Firestore. So to the add image to Firestore, we pass the image file, and the user data, you already know that we have access to the user data using the user model class, so we just assign that from the user model class directly, the values of it. So anyways, now this is our sign up. Now after a successful sign up, we will display a message that is your account is created successfully. So I will display here a message. Let's say you can tell to the user, congratulations, your account created successfully. Now after successful sign up, if you do not want to allow the user to go to the home page directly, that is, you must allow, for example, let's say you want that the user must log in now, so you can just tell also in the message that your account created successfully, please log in now, so the user will know that user has to log in. And before doing that, what you need to do is you need to make sure that you sign out the user after successful sign up, because by default after successful sign up the user is logged in also, so we will make sure that we sign out. So for example, the auth will, that is the user will be sign out, and we tell to the user, your account created successfully, please log in now. Let's install the app on the phone. Now let's sign up. Fill up the sign up form. Let's sign up. Your account created successfully, please log in now. Now first let's check the database. So for example, it starts from the authentication. You can see the user is authenticated successfully. If you go to the Firestore database, let's also open up the storage in a new tab. So you see that inside the Firestore database, user collection is created, and inside the users collection, a unique, that is a new user is created, and each new user will have its own unique UID, the user ID, under which the user information is saved. And if you go to the storage, you see that user images folder is created, under which we have a new folder, which the name of the folder is the user ID, user unique ID. As you can see, like this, we can recognize each user profile image, under which we have the user profile pic by the name profile_pic.jpg. If you click on it, it will even show you here. Now one thing which you can do here is that after the successful sign up, you can send the user to the login page. So navigator.push replacement name context, login page.root name, reset the form. So form key.current state reset. Now let's complete the login as well. When the user click on the login button, we call the login function. We validate the form. That is, if it is validated, then start displaying the progress. Then get the email and password from their required text fields. Now the rest of the code will remain the same, just like we did on the sign up page. For example, the try block, copy from the try block up to the finally block here, okay, up to the finally block. Copy this piece of code, and here on the login page you can simply paste it, and of course we will do the changes. So in case of the, let's start from the exception part first. So if any error occurs during the Firebase authentication, you know that it will execute, that is, it will be either this condition, this case, or this case, and for each case we have the error message which we display using the show snake bar. Let's import the common functions here. And similarly, if there is any other error, then that error we also display using the snake bar. And finally, we close the progress dialog. Now in case of try, that is, if the authentication is successful, which simply means that now, as you know, it is login, so it is called sign in with email and password. Now here, in case of sign in, we do not need this, so remove this up to the first name. Also remove these, remove this as well, and you can say you are logged in successfully. Now here, in case of login, app constant dot current user. To this we will assign the user model ID and the information of this specific user who is logged in successfully. And then from the user model, in here we need to implement a function which is get personal info from Firestore. Now that user who is logged in, that specific user information we have to fetch from the database. So we call here a function get user info from Firestore. So we create a reference to the users collection, and that specific user information we want to fetch. So we get that data which we fetch. We can get it using the snapshot. So this snapshot we assign to the snapshot of the user model. So for example, we get the first name which is saved in the database by the key name first name. Same goes for the other one. That's why I told you to please use the same keys. So anyways, if even you have used other key names, then you have to compare your key names here while retrieving. So for example, first name, it is saved in the database by this key name. So if we have the value in the database, get it and assign it to first name. Otherwise, assign empty string to the first name. Now same goes for the other ones. In the same way, we can get the user profile image. Get image from storage. We check if display image not equals to null, then simply return the display image. Otherwise, if display image equals to null, it means we have to fetch from the storage. So we create a path, or you can say a reference to our storage by which we have saved it. So for example, inside the user images folder, we have the user ID. That is, by the user ID, each user has the folder inside which we have the image by this name. So the same reference we will use here. So we have the reference to the user profile pic.jpg, and then we get that image data, memory image, assign it to the display image, and then return that image. Now from the login page, we call the function which is get personal info from Firestore. We want to send the user to the home page, which is the guest home page. So for now, inside the pages, let's create a new folder. We can give it name as guest. Now remember, guest means the end user, or you can say the common user. So inside the guest, create a new dot file. We can give it name as guest underscore homepage. Import material dot. We create stateful widget by name guest homepage. For now, we just display a scaffold widget with an app bar. And in the app bar, you can display our title. For example, we will say, for now, we will say welcome. In Flutter, when you add a app bar, it comes with the default back button. We do not want that default back button. So after the title, we have a property automatically implementing, set this to false. So it will remove the default back button. On the main dot, let's add the root for it, which is guest homepage. Guest homepage. Guest homepage, and the guest homepage root name you can add here. So after successful login, we can say guest homepage dot root name. You are logged in successfully. Welcome. Let's move this title to the center. So guest homepage, let's close all the other files, and we can say center title true. Also, we have this banner. Remove this as well. We can do that from here, which is we have a property debug show check mode banner, set this to false. Now on the guest home page, we will implement the bottom navigation bar. So we will have basically 5 buttons on the bottom navigation bar. For example, I will initialize the titles for those pages, or you can say for those buttons on the bottom navigation bar. So first one, you will have explore, favorites, trips, inbox, and profile. Now let's create the pages on these names. For example, right click on guest, new dot file. First page is explore page. Let's create the other one, which will be saved properties page, or you can say the favorites. Then another one is for the trips, which you as a user or as a guest has booked. You will see those trips on the trips page. Similarly, another one on the 4th index, we have the inbox page. And then finally, at the last index, we will have the account page. For now, we will just create the empty pages, since we are connecting it to the bottom navigation bar. So for example, this is the account page, and in the scaffold body at the center, we can add a text widget, and we will display text on it as this is account page. So we will say welcome to account, or you can say accounts page. Now let's do the same on the other empty pages. For example, inbox page. Make sure to rename this. This is inbox page. So now we have all the pages which we will connect to our bottom navigation bar. So now on the guest home page, let's also access. Now we will initialize a list by the name pages, and for example on the first index the title is explore. So the first page we will have is explore page, then the next one is favorites, or you can say saved page, and then we have trips, for which we have trips page, and then we have inbox, for which we have inbox page, and then the last index we have profile, which is the count page. Now we will have 5 buttons, or you can say 5 navigation items. So let's create a reusable function for that. So each bottom navigation bar button, or you can say bottom navigation bar item, it will have icon and a title. So let's implement this function, which will receive the index, that is which page it is, since we have to also differentiate between the active button, that is on which the user click, and the non-active buttons, that is the other bottom navigation bar buttons. And for each navigation item, or you can say button, we will have icon. Alongside with it we will have the title, or you can say the text for that specific button. So we say return bottom navigation bar item. Icon will be icon data, active icon will be icon data, and label, that is we display the text alongside with it. Now in the app constants, let's initialize 2 colors, that is for the selected icon and non-selected. So selected means, as I said, the one on which the user will click, it will have white color, and other than that the non-selected one will have a gray color. Make sure to remove this dot UI. Okay, it belongs to the color, and colors belongs to the material dot. So now let's assign the color to it. Icon data, that is the icon which we receive here as parameter. So this is basically the non-active, so we can assign the color to it. Non-selected icon, and then also for the active icon we will have the selected icon color. So we have a reusable function using which we can build buttons, which needs the page index, the icon for that page, that button, and the title for that button. Navigation bar item, or you can say navigation button. For example, for explore page we will have separate icon and title. For saved page we will have separate icon and title, and for trips page we will have separate icon and title, and so on for the other ones. So let's do that. Now after the app bar, at the body we will display the pages. So pages. Now by default, which page you want to display. For example, I will initialize here an integer type selected index variable, and I initialize it with 0. So by default I want to display the explore page. Let's say you may want to display the profile page by default, so you can write the index number for this page, okay, accounts page, which is for example 0th index 1 2 3 4. So like you can write 4 here, and by default it will display the profile page. Anyways, I want to display the explore page, so I will assign the selected index. Bottom navigation bar, on tap we add the click event to it. When the user click on any button, let's first complete this, then I will explain it. Current index will be the selected index. Type bottom navigation bar type dot fixed items. Now we call the reusable function using which we will build our buttons, bottom navigation bar buttons, or you can say navigation items. So for example, we have to pass the index. So for example, now at the 0th index, we have the explore page, and the icon for this we have icon.search, and then the next property is the next parameter is the title for that specific page. So for the explore page, we have the page title 0th title. So at the 0th, we have explore. So for example, we have the title explore, the page explore page. Okay, we specify the first button for which we have this icon, and this is the index number for the page. Now for example, for the second one, we have the index number 1, which means this page, saved page. Then the icons for it, the icon is favorite border, and the title for this from the page titles at the first index, that is 1. So 1 is favorite, so it will have this title favorite with this icon, and same goes for the other ones. Now when the user click on any button, then on the basis of that we will display that specific page title. So now let's install the app on the phone. I write the Gmail incorrect, it is gmail.com. And one thing is, on the login page, we have to write here the default case, as this is login page, so we can say login failed. Login failed, please try again later. So anyways, now you are logged in successfully, and now let me explain this piece of code which we write here. So you see the 5 buttons: navigation bar, items, explore, favorite, trips, inbox, and profile. Each button has icon with a title with a text: 0th index, 1 index, 2 index, 3 index, and 4 index. This is exactly how we define it, that is the titles for it and the pages. And then we create a reusable function using which we display these 5 buttons by passing their required index number for the pages and for the titles, and of course each one has their own icon. Now if you see, by default we are on the explore page, so it is highlighted with white color, the other ones are with gray color. So by default, when you are logged in, you will see the explore page. Then is this on tap click event, which simply means that if I click on, let's say, this one, then the index of this one, which is 0, 1, 2 will be assigned to the selected index. And that's why on the user interface you will see that this button will become highlighted with a white color and the other one with gray. And now if you click here, then this will become active, the other ones are non-active. If you click here, this become active, the other ones non-active. Now let's work on the accounts page. On this page we will basically implement 3 buttons. One of them will be for displaying the user dashboard. Either if a user is an end user, that is guest, then for guest we have this dashboard which you already see, and then when the user click on become host, or you can say show my host dashboard, then this dashboard will be changed to the host dashboard. So for that purpose we will initialize here a string type variable, the default dashboard, which will be guest dashboard. So that's why to this we assign this value, that is, if the user want, the user can go to the host dashboard, to his or her host dashboard, where the user can become host and start uploading property listings. And after it we will implement a reusable widget function which will return a widget which will be action tile. Basically these 3 buttons we will implement. Among one of them will be show my host dashboard, or you can say show my guest dashboard. One will be the logout button and the other one will be show my profile info. As we will have 3 buttons, so instead of writing the same code 3 times, we will make this code reusable. We create this function in which we implement that reusable code, which will receive the context, the text which you want to display on that button, the icon we want to display there, and the click event, of course. Other than this, of course, we will implement the user profile image, the information as well here. So let's just implement this design for the buttons. According to the screen height, divide by 9.5. At the leading, we display the text for this button, and then after the leading, at the trailing, we display the icon. And now let's implement the user interface. Now one thing we need is we want to display the add a dependency for displaying large texts. So for example, if a text is too much large, then it will automatically resize itself. And in Flutter, we have a dependency for that. It is called auto size text. Return scaffold widget, body single child scroll view, child padding from left, top, right, bottom. First, we display the circle. Using the circle editor, we display the user profile image. And then after this profile image, using the auto size text, which belongs to the auto size text package, or you can say plugin, we display the full name of the user. By default, it will be 24. Let's say if the username is too much long, then it will auto resize according to the screen size, according to your phone size. Then after it, we display the email, and then using our build action title, we are going to display our 3 buttons. So as you know, to this we need to pass context, text, the title, or you can say the text we want to display on the button, the icon, and the click event. So context, the text we want to display on the button, the icon, and the click event. Same goes for the other buttons. Now let's add these function. For now, we will just call it here. And then of course, stepwise, we will implement it. And then the logout user function. Logout is simple. We have to just say firebase auth.instance.signout and then send the user to the login page. Firebase auth belongs to the Firebase auth package. Now let's check the result. If you go to the profile, then here we go. The profile image, the username, user email, and the 3 buttons. Now in this video, we will allow a user to become a host. So when any user for the first time click on this show my host dashboard, we will enable the hosting for that specific user. So let's do that. Go to the user objects inside the user model. We will implement a function for that. Now we will manage that using our Firestore database. That is, each user has a value for the key is host. So anytime when the user click on this button, let's say as it is showing show my host dashboard, so when the user click on it, it will become true. It means now the user will view the host dashboard, and then when the user click on show my guest dashboard, then it will become false again, and then the user will see this current dashboard again. So it will be switching between the host and guest dashboard on the basis of this is host boolean type value. It will be either true or false. So by default, you know, it will be false, as you know that here we have this is host. False is assigned to it, which means when it is false, it means it is the user. User means the guest. And when it is true, it means it is the host. So let's implement a function become host. We will assign to the is host true value, and then we initialize a data map, and this key name we are going to update. So assign the true value to it, and then this data, that is the is host, we want to update at the specific for the specific user who just click on this button. So inside the users collection, that specific user, the is host value will be updated, and then after it we call this function which is change currently hosting and pass true value to it as parameter. And let's implement this, which receive the true value as a parameter. So assign the is hosting, that is the boolean value, to the is currently hosting. Now on the accounts page, inside the change hosting function, we will call that function become host. But first of all, we need the host dashboard. So for now, let's create an empty dashboard. So for example, inside the lib, all you need to do is create a new folder by the name host, and we will just add a dot file to it by the name home host dashboard, host homepage. Host homepage. For now, add a bar to which you can add a text title, and that title will be, we can say welcome to host dashboard, or just you can say host. So now in here, first make sure to add the root for the new page, which is host homepage dot root name, and this will be the root. So root name here we will first check if the current user is host. Then it simply means that the current user is already host, and there is no need to change the user status to hosting. Otherwise, if the current user is not already a host, then we must change the status, that is the is host, we must set to true by calling the function inside the else statement. So for example, app constant.current user become host, which is this function where we update the is host to true, that is that user, current user, become the host. So when it is complete, then we assign true value to the is currently hosting as well, that is the current user is now hosting. And on the basis of this variable, this boolean variable, we will set the title, that is update the title on the user interface. So it will be, if it is true, then it means it will be show my guest dashboard, and if it is false, it means you will see this title, which is show my host dashboard. So let's complete this first. So now in the if statement, it means that when the current user is already a host, then in that case we have to just update the is currently hosting value. So for example, we will say if the is currently hosting is true, then simply assign false value to the is currently hosting, and then of course send the user to the guest homepage, and then the else part will be assign true value to the is currently hosting and send the user to the host homepage. Now this code is important. Let me explain again. So for example, here we are checking if the current user is already host. If he is already host, it means that it will have a true value. So it will skip this if statement and it will execute this else part, where first it will make sure to make the current user host. You know that the current user will become host. And then also on the user interface, we want to change the title. When the user become host, the user will see the host dashboard, and then here you will see show my guest dashboard text, because the user will want to switch back to the guest dashboard after when the user is sent to the host dashboard. So in that case, when it's currently hosting is true, then the host page will be displaying to the user. At that time, the user will see the host dashboard. That is, the user is a host at that time when the is currently hosting is true. Now if the user is already a host, as I said, then all we need to do is just to make sure that if the is currently hosting is true, assign false value to the is currently hosting, and when is currently hosting is false, it simply means the user will be on the guest homepage. Other than that, the else part, which is assign true to the is currently hosting, and when it is true, it means the user at that time will be the host and the user will see the host dashboard. Now let's update the title for that. So we will implement here the built-in init state function. If the is host, if the current user is host, and if the current user is not the host. So if the current user is host, in that at that time the hosting title we will recognize on the basis of is currently hosting. So if is currently hosting is true, then display this title, else display this title. And then the else part, as you know, if the current user is not a host, then it will have this default become a host button, which is the current scenario. For example, now I want to install the app on the phone so that we can test the app and see the result for it. Profile, and you see the become a host, because currently this condition will execute as the current user is not yet the host. So now as soon as I click on become a host, you see the user is sent to the host, that is the user become now the host, and in the database it is now true. I mean, we have not yet implemented the host dashboard. Once we implement that, then we will test this other switching, which is to switch back to the guest dashboard from the host dashboard. Now let's implement the host dashboard just like we implemented the guest dashboard. In the same way we can do it here. We will have 5 pages here. Right click on host, new .file. One will be the bookings page. The next one will be the my postings page. Then the earnings page. The account page and the inbox page will be common between the host and guest. Okay, so we have already the inbox and the account page. So now, for example, I will copy this piece of code from here, close the other one. This is earnings page. then the my postings page, and then the bookings page. So now here on the host page, we will initialize a list for the page titles. These will be the page titles for the host dashboard, for the navbar items, or you can say navbar buttons. These are the titles. Then for the pages, we define the pages list in the init state. We will initialize the list, that is the pages list, with the pages of the host dashboard. Now remember that the user come to this page, to the account page, and from the account page the user click the button show my host dashboard. So when the user comes here to the host home page, that is to this page, it will also receive the index number, index, this dot index, and then we initialize the selected index with fourth, which means this one for the earnings page. Let's define those pages as well. So we can say that selected index, to this we assign the index number which we receive here in the host home page as parameter. Otherwise, let's say if there is no index page, then it will be 4. And then pages, and the pages are bookings page, my posting page, inbox, earnings, and accounts page. My posting page name is my postings page. Now let's implement that reusable function for displaying the navigation bar buttons. Build navigation item which receive these parameters. We display the icon, the active icon, and label for that, and then we display the pages on the body. Body pages, selected index, bottom navigation bar, the current index is the selected index, and then also apply the other properties: background color, selected, unselected item color, the label style for the selected and unselected, and then on tab we assign the index to the selected index, which simply means that on any new navigation button, when the user click, that new button index, or you can say that new page index, will be assigned to the selected index, and as a result of that you will be moved, that is, you will see on the user interface that new page. So let's build that buttons, to which we pass this parameter. So now if we check, show my host dashboard, and here we go. You can see this is the host dashboard, and on the host dashboard you see the bookings page, the posting page, inbox, earnings, and the profile. Now of course here earnings, this is my postings page, and this is bookings page. Make sure to give it a proper name on the app bar so that you see it. One more thing is, on the host homepage, also display the name of the selected page at the app bar. On the guest homepage, we have already applied that. So now this is how our host dashboard looks. Now as the current user is already become a host, so now you can switch between the host and guest dashboard, and you will see the text. So for example, currently the user is now inside the guest dashboard, so it is showing show my host dashboard. When you click on it, Now you are inside the host dashboard, and the text on the button is now show my guest dashboard. So you can switch back to the guest dashboard, and so on. You can switch back to the host dashboard. Now let's work on the My Postings page, where the host will be allowed to upload new postings. So let's go to the host My Postings file. This is My Postings page. So if you want, you can of course rename the file name as well, which you forgot to add like the page alongside with it. We can return padding widget. Child ink response. On that click event. Child container widget. Decoration box decoration. Border from all side, color will be gray, width will be 1, and then after the border radius circular from all side 5. And for now we will add the button directly for creating a new post, that is upload a new listing button. So inside the widgets we create a new widget file, a new widget file. Basically we will give it name as create posting list tile. We'll be treating this as a button, so we can just write alongside with it button. Create a stat list widget. Create posting list tile button. Return size box widget. Height will be according to the screen height by 12. Child row widget. Manage alignment dot center. Children widget. First we add icons dot add this icon, and then the name for this button, which will be create posting, or you can say add new posting or upload a new posting. So it is totally up to you, any name you want to give to it. Create a property listing. So now on the My Posting page we can simply call that button here create posting list style button. Check the My Postings, then here you can see this is the button create a listing. Now that is the host. When the host click on this button, we send the host to the create new listing page. Inside the host, let's create a new file by the name create update listing. Now the reason I give it create update is that on the same page the user will be able to create a new listing, new property listing, and the user can also update the already uploaded existing property listing. So we give it name as create update posting page. Now in case of the update feature, when the host want to update already uploaded listing, then in that case this page must receive that specific posting as a parameter which the host want to update. So you can say final posting, that is that specific posting data. Now let's implement this posting data class. So inside the models, let's create a new file by the name posting objects. So we give it the same name, which is posting. Each posting will have the following data, for example posting ID, posting name, posting rating, posting country, and so on, all the other information. So this data, which are the attributes of the posting class, we will receive it, the posting data, through its constructor. So on the create update posting page, let's import the posting model class, which is received here as parameter. Now let's implement the upload form for uploading new property listing. So for that we will need the controller, text editing controller. So let's initialize that. For example, name, price, description, address, city, country, and amenities controller. Also we will need a form key, and then we will have a drop down list from which the host will select the property type. We need a list with all the property types mentioned in it. So that types we will display in the drop down. These will be drop down options. And the chosen answer we will assign to this property type chosen. Then we need a data map where that is how much beds the property provide and how much bathrooms, or you can say washrooms, the property provide. That specific property, that specific new posting, or you can say new listing, which the host is going to upload. And then of course when the upload button is pressed, we will also display the progress bar, which we can handle with the help of this boolean type variable is loading. And the property images, as you know, we allow the host to upload multiple images, so that's why we need a list for the images. So now let's return a scaffold widget, add an app bar, title app bar, and we say create update posting actions. We will add the upload icon button here, and it will be based on the is loading value. So if is loading is true, it means the uploading is started, so we will display circular progress indicator inside this padding widget. Otherwise we display the upload icon button. And then the upload icon button. After the app bar, in the body, we will implement the upload form. So body center child, single child scroll view, child padding widget, child column, children widget. We display the title, post to online marketplace, and then after it we have the upload form. We apply some theming on our this form. And then we will display the text form fields for the posting name, a drop down for the property type, then text field for the price, for the description, address, beds, bathroom, amenities, and the photos. We will implement all of them step by step. So let's start from here. So first we add a text form field for the posting name. Then we are going to implement our drop down for allowing the host to choose the property type. We apply input decoration on it, then drop down button, hide underline, drop down button. We will assign the items to it. The items are basically over these items, this list. So let's populate it. We can say property types dot map dot to list. Inside the map, we pick each property type one by one. That is, when the user click on the button, it will start displaying the menu item. Value type child, the value text, that is type. And then after the items, that is when the host select any option from the drop down list. So that updated value we have to get, and we have to assign it to our property type chosen variable. And after the onChanged is expanded true value property type chosen, that is the chosen value will be displayed on the drop down field on the user interface. Then after the drop down, let's implement the text form field for the price. And then after the price, after this text field is for the price, we will display the per night text alongside with it. So currency symbol and then per night rent, or you can say the charges, just like you see in Airbnb or booking.com. Now in your case, you may want to write your currency symbol. So let's say if it is euro, or if it is a rupee symbol, or let's say it is your currency is, let's say dirham, then dirham symbol is, let's say you are from China, then it will be yuan currency symbol. So instead of that slash, you can just write your symbol directly here. Okay, only in case of dollar you can write slash with the dollar sign. Or also, for example, I do not want to use this dollar sign, you can go to Google and simply search for currency green emoji, or just search currency emoji. So it will show you many websites from where they will give you a text emojis, and you can copy paste it. Or you can write, for example, your currency, your country name alongside with it. Let's say China currency emoji, or let's say Spain currency emoji, and it will show you the emojis here, which you can just copy paste directly. For example, I will copy this dollar emoji, which is a green currency symbol. So I copy it and I will simply directly paste it here like this. Simple as that. So from Google you can find your currency emoji. Then after it, let's implement the description text form field. Then the address, the beds, bathroom amenities and photos that we will implement later on. For now, let's test our application, because this is also the feature which we have to implement using the Google API, Google Places API. So anyways, first of all, let's check the UI. Make sure to add a click event when the, as I told you guys previously, that in case of a new posting, when the host wants to upload a new posting, then in that case the posting data that we pass from here, it will be null. However, in case when the host want to update any existing or already uploading posting, then you know that the admin will click on that specific posting which the host wants to update. When I say admin, I simply means the host. So for example, you can also update the title in the app bar. Let's say And I just noticed an error, that is I add the app bar 2 times. So please make sure to add it 1 time. It was by mistake. Make sure to cut this text widget from here, remove this title, and here we can say title and paste the text widget like this. Simple. So what I was telling is that now, for example, when the host want to upload a new posting, and in that case the posting data will be null. However, in case of updating already existing post or listing, in that case that listing will have some data, and which we will pass from here, and that data will be received here. So for example, in case of new, the posting will be null, so we will see this title, and in case of update, as it will not be null, so the else part will execute, and on the app bar you will see this update posting title. Now let's check. So as you can see that now we have to implement the search property location page, where we allow the host to choose the location, and the searching will be performed using the Google Places API address, and we have the click event here. So let's create a new page inside the host. We will give it name as search property location page. We need a text editing controller for the host to write any place name for that property. So for example, when the host start typing, then it will show the suggested places based on the host input, and that will be performed using the Places API. Now it will return us multiple predicted places. Now what this data will contain, we need a model class. Right click on model, new dot file. We will give it name as predicted underscore places. Predicted places. According to the API documentation, which I will show you, we will basically return information like the place ID, the main text, and the secondary text. So for that purpose, we create this predicted classes. These are the attributes of this class, which we will receive through its constructor. Now the data comes from the API as a response in JSON format, so we have to get each data from it, for example using this JSON. So the place ID we get from the JSON, and it will be accessible by place ID. Similarly, we get the main text, structure formatting main text, and then structure formatting secondary text. Now open up your browser, go to Google and simply Google for Places API autocomplete API response. When you Google for this, you will see this link, which is Place Autocomplete Legacy Places API. Click on it. You can come to this page directly by simply typing this specific URL, which is developers.google.com/maps/places/web-service/legacy/autocomplete. It will redirect you to this page, and when you scroll here, you will also see how to send a request, for example, to the Places Autocomplete API, which is the Places API basically, but for the autocomplete purpose. And if you scroll down, you will also see further examples how you can send the request, and the response that will come from the API you can see here in JSON. So for example, when the response comes, it is inside the predictions. You can see we have the place underscore ID, then structure formatting main text and secondary text, which we did here. And this will be basically the address, like the main text is the city, or you can say the state name. Secondary text is the country name, and place ID simply means that specific place ID. So now we have the data format, a data class. We can of course send the request now to the API, which will return us the response, and that response will contain multiple predicted places. So we need a list to which we will add these predicted places. So for example, I initialize a list by the name places list, which is of type predicted places, as it will contain this type of data. So now let's implement a function send request to API, which will receive the API URL as parameter, that is to which API we are going to send the request. Now to send request to API, we need the HTTP dependency. So let's add that, and then here we can import the http dot as http. So we say wait http dot get URI dot parse the API URL. So we get the response from the API, which will be assigned to this response from API, and then using the try catch block we say if the response from API, if the status code for that is equals to 200, then it means it is successful. We get the body of the data from the response from the API. That data we assign to this string type variable, that is data from API, and we have to decode that data from API and assign it to data decoded, and then return that decoded data. Then inside the else part there will be error. Please use the same keyword, that is in small English alphabet error. Then after the try block we have the catch block for exception error message, so we return the same word error, return error. So now let's search location using the places API. Now first of all, to use the places API, make sure to import this JSON code which belongs to .convert. To send request to the places API, make sure that you enabled the places API. So in the browser, just type this URL console.developers.google.com and press enter. It will send you to Google Cloud Console, and from here you have to select your project. So click here and click all, and then select your project. Now you will see here the library button. Click on it, and here you have to search for places API, or you will also see the suggestion here places API. So click on it, and then you have to just enable it. Now any API service, any Google API which you enabled from the Google Cloud Console, it is linked with your Google Map key. So we also need to create a Google Map key. So for example, I will simply click on this Google Cloud. It will send you to this page. Here you can go to API and services. You can also access this from here, from the hamburger button. You have API and services, so you can go to library, and from the library you will see Maps SDK for Android and Map SDK for iOS. So let's enable it for Android first. Enable it, and then go to the API and services from the hamburger button, API services, library, and now let's enable it for iOS. For now we need to just get the Google Map key. Later on, when we will implement the Google Maps, that is to display the property location on Google Map inside the app, then we will proceed, and I will also go through the proper documentation for it. That is how we can implement Google Maps in our project. For now, we are just implementing the Places API in order for a user to search for the places, for property places, so that every property has its own original location and not just some render dummy locations. So now what you need to do is you need to click here, and then you need to go to API and services, and then you have the credentials. Click on credentials. Inside the credentials you will see this button, create credentials, and we need API key. So click on API key, and you can go ahead and give it name if you want. Let's say I will give it name as Airbnb Google Map key, and then create. So it will create a key. As you can see, it show you here your API key. So you can copy it from here. You can close this. It will refresh this page. You will also see it here, my Airbnb Google Maps key. So you can also copy it from here if you click on show key. So copy this key, and in your project inside the app constants I will simply paste this key, and of course we will give it name as Google Maps key. And then after it, now we can make a request to our API. We first check. Now location name simply means the input which the host type in the text field, which we will implement in the user interface. So if the user write, let's say 2 characters, then the prediction will start. That is, it will start showing you the result on the user interface. The predicted places you will start seeing. 2 or more characters you have to type. So this is our API, Places API URL now. So https://maps.google-apis.com/maps/api/place/JSON ? Input equals to the location name, that is the input which the host will type in the text form field, and key is basically our Google Map key. So after the Google Map key, and components means the country. So components equal to country. The search will be country specific, for example, and then colon country colon your country short code. So AE means Arab Emirates, that is United Arab Emirates, UAE. Let's say if you are from USA, then it will be US. If you are from Canada, then it will be CA. So whatever your country short code is, you can type here. Or of course, if you do not want to make it country specific, then you can simply remove this and components equals to country colon AE. That is, you have to then remove this part. Now I will provide this API URL, so you can just copy paste it from there directly here. Okay, so Google Map key is on our app constants dot, we have to type it inside curly braces, so we can say app constants dot Google Maps key. So now let's send request to the API. We can say send request to API, and this is the Places autocomplete API, which is the Places API, but the feature is called autocomplete. So we assign the response to this response from Places API, and then we check if there is error. Yeah, that's why I told you guys to use the same code. So if the response from API is equals to error, simply return from there. Otherwise, the response from Places API status we check if the status is equals to OK. Now this is according to the documentation. That is, the response has a status and the value is okay if it is successful. So that is what we are checking here. So we get the predictions, that is the predicted places, which are for each input in the text form field by the host. We get predictions, and it will be different locations names based on the host input. So that prediction we assign to this variable. Now as you know that it is in JSON format, these multiple locations which we get as a response from API. So one by one we have to pick each prediction, each predicted place from this, and we have to convert it to proper format using our predicted places dot from JSON, so that we can access it using the attributes name directly whenever we need it. So let's do that. So we say prediction result in JSON as list dot map. So we treat this as a list as it contains multiple predicted places from the API as a response. So one by one we will pick each predicted place from this list, and we convert it to normal format using our predicted places dot from JSON. And then set state, and we assign the prediction list to the places list. So now we have the data, the predicted places data. We can simply display it on the user interface. So return scaffold widget. Now if you want, as you know, by default our entire app background, or you can say the theme, is black. If you want to give it any other color, then for each scaffold widget, you know, we have a background color property. So from there, let's say colors.white, colors.red, colors.pink, any other background you want to give, you can give it from here. Other than that, there is no need to write this background color if you want to go, let's say, the same theme for the search property location page. So anyways, let's continue. Body single child scroll view, child column children widget. Now here inside this card widget, we will implement the form, that is a text form field, where the host will write the place name for the property. And then after this form, we will display the prediction results for property places based on this input which the user will type, which the host will type in the text form field. So let's first implement that form, that is text form field. We will add an icon and then the input text form field. Now the icon will be the back button icon alongside title, or you can say text, which will be please write address. And then after it, the text form field. I have provided this image, please download, copy it and paste it inside the images, which is by the name final.png. And then we add the text field for taking input from the host. Now that input text, as when the host start typing, we start getting the input text from the text form field, and we pass that input text to the search location function. It will be received here. So as soon as the character length is greater than one, that is 2 or more characters, it will start calling that function. That is, it will start showing you the predicted places. Now after that, this is our form, our text form field, where the host will write input. Then comes the showing the result on the user interface. So what we did here is that we check if the places list is not empty, then we will simply start displaying the result inside this padding widget. We are implementing that. Otherwise, display empty container. We will display the result using the UI, predicted places UI. So let's implement that UI. Inside the widgets, I create a new file. I will give it name as places UI. Places name UI. Places name UI, which will receive the predicted places data as parameter. Return elevated button, as the user will basically choose from the predicted places the correct address. So we add a click event, style, child size box, and then using the text widget, first we display the main text, and then the secondary text. So now on the search property location page, from here let's call the UI, that is child. Using this UI we will start displaying the predicted places. So we say places name UI, to which we pass the predicted places data one by one, as we have multiple places name from the API as a response. So one by one we keep passing each predicted place, and it will start displaying on the user interface. So this is all about the places API for the autocomplete. And now let's test the application. We have to add a click event, which we have not yet added, on the address. So we say navigator.push context, material page route builder c search property page. Now here we have to wait for this. Later on, as you know, that we will wait for the host to choose any predicted place which the host will see on the user interface. So for now we just add this response. Later on, of course, we will implement that. For now, let's just send the host to the search property location page. So when you click on address, this is our search property location page. Now when I start typing the location, let's say DU, you see the prediction result start displaying on the user interface. The character must be 2 or greater than 2, which I already told you guys. So you can search for any specific place like this. Now when the user choose any address, then any specific, let's say the user choose this way, this address, Burj Khalifa, let's say for example the apartment is in here. So the moment when the host click on any predicted place, it can be Burj Al Arab Beach, Burj Mal, or let's say Burj Khalifa. So the moment when I click on any address, then we need the details of this specific place. For example, the full address, the latitude and longitude, and the place name for it. I'm searching for generic buildings, or you can say apartments. Let's say you can also search, for example, different house numbers, avenues. As you know, it is connected with Google APIs, Google Places API. So it will bring and fetch all the places based on your input. So anyways, for now, let's add this click event on our places name UI, that is when any name is clicked. And for the function here, by name retrieve clicked place details, and to this we will pass the clicked place ID as a parameter. So basically, with the help of this place ID, let's say if I click on this one, it will bring the complete details about this specific place, and it will be using the places API, but for the details, that is places details API, which is, for example, this one, place details API. Here we can check the details about it. That is how we can send request, for example, and how the response will come from the API. All the details are here. So anyways, now let's implement it. So go to the project and let's implement this function about the tweak. It is receiving the place ID as parameter. Let's initialize the API URL. For example, the URL places details API, which is https://maps.googleaps.com/maps/api/details/json?place_id, the place ID, and key, which is our Google Map key. You can get from the app instance Google Map key. So you will make a request to the place details API. Now to make a request, we have to make this function reusable, which is for sending the request to the API. So implemented here, this one. So we can move it from here, Control X, cut this code from here and go to the common functions, and we can implement it here. You can say static send request to API, HTTP as HTTP, and now for example we need it here, so we will simply say that common functions dot send request to API. That's it. So it is now a reusable function. So now, for example, we need it here as well. So you can say where common functions dot send request to API, and we want to send request to this API. Now the response will come, which we will assign to this variable. Now, if there is any error, we will return from there. Otherwise, if the response everything is correct, it means the status will be equals to OK, which is according to the documentation. If we check here, status OK. Now from the details, that is about the class, we have multiple information available. Like for example, we have also the photos available for that specific place ID, which for example you click from here, let's say this one. So you can also fetch photos and all the other information, which you can see. There are multiple information available, but the one in which we are interested is the formatted address. Of course, also the latitude and longitude of that specific place, because using the latitude and longitude, we will be able to display the property location on the Google map for each property listing later on in this course. So what we can do now is we can create a model class, a data model class for address underscore model information, which you will get from the API as response is the human readable address, which is also the place name, and string full address, the latitude and longitude, and the place ID and place name. So we see through this constructor. So here we will create an instance of our address model, and then we get the formatted address from the response. For example, inside the result, you can see that we have the formatted address, which is a complete address, and that we assign to the attribute of our address model class, which is by the name full address. Same goes for the other one, that is we get the result name. So inside the result name, and that we assign to the place name. Then after it we get the result geometry location latitude, and we assign it to latitude position, and then we get the longitude, which we assign to the longitude position. Result geometry location, it is according to the documentation. So for example, result geometry location latitude and longitude, and then of course the place ID we assign to the place ID attribute of our address model. We need to initialize some global variables. So inside the lib I will create a new dot file by the name global string address of property, and then the city of property and country name of property. So now here we will basically assign inside the set state the full address we will assign to the address of property, and the main text, which is basically the city or the state name, we will assign it to the city of property, and then the secondary text, which represents the country name, so we will assign it to country of property. And then we say navigator.pop context comma, and this key we will pass as a parameter. Make sure to import the global dot here. So this key will be passed as a response which we receive here, that is when the address is selected on the search property location page. The address is selected successfully. We have already get the places details as well, so none. It will close the current screen, which is the search page, and it will pass this as a response, so it will know that it received this response. And then from here we will proceed further. For example, we will check if the response is equals to place selected, then we display the information on the text field. For example, inside the set state, the address of property we display on the address text field by simply writing underscore address controller dot text, to which we assign the address of property. Similarly, the city name we assign to the city controller, and the country name we assign to the country controller. These two we do not display on the user interface because the important one is this one, and for this we have basically implemented the text field. So you will see this one. However, this will be in the backend. We will save it to the database. You can say that this was an optional information which we want to save to the database. So now I will go back first. Of course, you can click on this play button and install the app again from the start. What I will do, restart, and then let's check. Now let's say I search for Burj Khalifa residences, for example. I click on that, and here we go. Here you can see the complete address is visible on the user interface in the address text field. Of course, when you click on it again, you can update this address as well. Let's say I want let's say, for example, it is an address for Sheraton Grand Hotel. So I will choose this address. So you see that the complete address it will get using the places details API. Now let's complete the user interface. That is after the address, we have beds, bathroom, amenities, and photos. So for the beds, let's add first a title using the text widget beds. We need to create a widget. Inside the widgets, we will create the facilities widget. With this widget, it will receive the type start value, the decrease and increase value. Receive through its constructor, int underscore value init state, and the start value we assign to the value. Return padding widget. Now we will have two buttons, the plus and minus. In between we will display the quantity, that is increment and decrement. So for example, first we display the type for the facility, either it is bed or it is bathroom, and then after it we will have the increment and decrement button. So the first one is for decrement. On pressed as decrement, so we can say widget dot decrease value we will decrement by 1. So value -1 dot clamp 0 to 9,999. Now this will make sure that we do not get negative value for the decrement, and of course update the UI. Then after it we will display the result, that is which total number the user choose for the beds or for the washroom, for example. So value dot to string, we display that, and then after it we have the increment. So increment is by 1, set state. Now all this is basically a reusable widget which we will use for the beds and for the washrooms. Now one thing is, this is only for the user interface. We have to also update this then later on in the database as well. So that is when a user upload a new posting, a new property listing, then how much washrooms or beds it provide. So it is for that purpose. So here, now using our reusable facilities widget, for example, we have different type of beds. For example, for the first one we will call the facilities widget, that is twin and single beds. So start value beds small, decrease and increase value. The decrease will be decrement. Make sure that you write also alongside with it dot clamp 0 to 50, which means to avoid the negative number. So from 0 to 50 is allowed. And then the increase value, which means the increment. In the same way we can do for the double bed and then for the queen king bed. Then after it we have bathrooms. So the title bathrooms, and then using the same reusable widget we can do it for the bathrooms. For example, first for the full and then for the half. Then the amenities, so text from field, we add a decoration. Amenities, the host has to provide by putting a comma after every amenity. After that comes the photos, and that is something which we will implement in the next video. For now, we will test the application because this is a separate complete feature. That is how we can select multiple images in Flutter. And then of course how to not allow the host to upload same duplicate image multiple times. So that is something which we will implement, and also how to compress the image, which you already know because we have already implemented the compress image feature. But it is a complete feature, so on that we will work in the next video. But for now we have to populate these list, for example the bathroom list and the beds list. As you can see, for now these are empty, which means it will return null if you test the app. Same for our images, and same for the controllers. You can also provide initial values for it. For example, the reason for that is later on we will also implement the update currently uploaded posting feature. So when the host want to update any listing, in that case the text form field will be filled with the old data. So then the host can edit any data and then update it. And as I told you guys already, we can recognize that with the help of this posting value. That is, if it is null, it means it is a new post. However, else it will be update. So in case of new, you will see the text form fields with empty data. However, in case of update, it means we have to display the old data on the text form fields. So anyways, for now, what we can do, we can implement this function and we check if the posting is null, it means it is a new posting. So else, this will be for the update part, which we will implement later on. For now, let's do it for the new posting. In case of new posting, the beds that is small will have 0 initial value, for medium also 0, and the large 0, as it is a new listing. So by default it will display 0 in front of each bed type. Same for the bathrooms, full half, and the images as an empty string. And of course for the text editing controller, you can do the same, that is provide the empty string to it. So these will be the initial values for our upload form if it is a new posting which the host is going to upload. And we have to call this function from the init state like this. Now let's test the app on the phone. So here you can see this is the beds. And these are the bathrooms UI, and then of course the amenities. Now between the beds and the bathrooms, let's add some space. So beds, let's increase its font size to 24, and then also for the bathrooms 24, and above here we can add a size box of height 16. Now also on the UI of our facilities widget, while displaying this, we can make the color white 24. So now if we check the result, this is how it looks. If you want to make it more highlight, then instead of 24 you can go with 60. So like this it will look more beautiful and more visible. Now let's work on the listing images. Now when the user select images, we will display it using the grid view, and the plus icon button for selecting image from gallery will also be in a grid. So we say grid view dot builder. The item count will be the images dot length plus 1, since we will also have one grid for the plus icon button. And then item builder context comma index, we check if the index become equals to images dot length. Return container, we will have this plus icon button on pressed. Return material button, and we start displaying the images from the picked images from the images list one by one. Now when the host click on this plus icon button, it will simply allow the host to pick image from phone. So here we will call this function select image, to which we pass -1 as parameter. Let's implement this. Select image, which receive index -1 as parameter. So first of all, make sure to import the path provider and the path dot as path, the image picker, and the Flutter image compressor dot. So now first of all, we allow the host to pick image from gallery, which we can do using image picker. We assign the result to pick image, which is of type X file. Then we check if the pick image is not equals to null. Then we first convert that X file to type file, and then we create a temporary directory for the compressed file. Now each image will have its own unique name. For example, it will be compressed underscore the datetime.jpg, a unique name. Then we compress the image bytes. And we check if compressed bytes is not equals to null. Then we write the compressed bytes to a new file. Convert to memory image. Then we check for duplicate by comparing bytes. So for example, in the images list dot any image. So what we will do here, we will check for duplicate by comparing the image bytes. So for example, we say we first get the bytes of the image, which is picked by the host, and then we check if bytes dot length not equals to the compressed bytes dot length, then return false. We run for loop according to the bytes length. We check if the bytes at the index, which will run according to the bytes length, and this I represent the index. So each image will have different bytes at different index. So what we are checking here is that if that same bytes available inside the list, it means that is whenever we compressed any image, it has a specific bytes length. Okay, that is at each index it will have specific bytes. Now that same image, if we pick again, if the host pick again from the gallery, then it will have the same bytes. Then in that case we will return and we will tell to the host that is that same image already picked by you. Otherwise, if the bytes at specific index is not equals to the compressed byte at the specific index, then we return false. So in simple words, in this piece of code, we are checking for duplicate by comparing bytes. So if duplicate is true, it means we can show to the user a message using the snack bar. That is, you have already selected this image, and simply return. And then after this, we add that specific image which is not duplicate to the images list. So we check if index is less than 0, which means if it is the first image. If it is the first image, simply add that new image in the list. Otherwise, if it is not the first image, then add that new image at the next index. Make sure to add the set state. Now we have already scaffold messenger in our common functions, so you do not need to implement this whole code. You have to just call the common functions dot show snack bar and pass the message to it. Now let's install the app on the phone. So you see at the first index, you see this button, the plus icon button as a grid. When you click on it, it opens up the gallery and you can pick image. And you see that the image start appearing here at the start. Now let's pick another image. You can see that. So you can pick as many images as you want.